Hello and welcome to the third annual Meditate to Thrive Challenge. I'm your guide, Evan Soroka. I'm a certified yoga therapist based in Aspen, Colorado, and I'm also a person who's had type 1 diabetes for 22 years. And when I first conceived of this challenge several years ago, really my goal was to unite as many people with diabetes as possible and provide them with the autonomous tools of meditation as a self care strategy. I want to disrupt the status quo of thinking that diabetes care is simply limited to management, exercise, and diet, that we can start to employ daily strategies like meditation, like breathing practices, like yoga asana to, in effect, help us manage diabetes better. Now, this is not a pill that you take. This is not like a fast, quick fix. It takes time to start to really truly receive the benefit and the transformational qualities of meditation. But let me tell you from direct experience that it wasn't until I started sitting every single day, or at least very regularly, did I notice a huge transformation in my attitude about diabetes and also my sense of efficacy, my ability and willingness to try new things, to go out there and say yes to things, because I knew that even if I made a mistake, that I was more empowered by my ability to bounce back from those challenges. And meditation was one of those things that's really helped me over the long duration of living with diabetes take care and change my relationship to diabetes. So this is what I hope to impart upon you, whether you're a beginner meditator, intermediate, or you've been doing this for a really long time. I have studied with some of the best teachers out there. My main teacher is Yoga Rupa Rod Stryker, Pandit Rajmani Tiganayat of the Himalayan Institute, and Gary Kraftso of the American Vinyasa Institute. So I come from a deep Himalayan tradition in Tantra, in inner reflection that stems back to origins of what we call Shruti. The origins of yoga were at Shruti. They were heard, they were revealed. And so I want you to even consider that your experience with me over the next 14 days is not something that we're just making up or that you're really trying hard to conceive of, but it's something that's already alive in you. That the ancients knew this, they saw it, they heard it, they received it, and that all we're doing in this practice is reawakening that. Actually, one of the most beautiful definitions of mindfulness to me is this idea of remembrance, that we're remembering our inherent truths. So we're doing the practice a little bit differently this year. In years past, I used a Dropbox file and I uploaded a meditation several days a week. This time around, we're doing 14 days. I'm going to be uploading a 21-minute meditation every single day, actually the night before. So if you are an early morning riser, or if you're on the East Coast or even Europe, that you're going to be able to access that meditation right away for whatever time of day that you do practice. In addition, I'm going to be following a regular, consistent practice every single day because I want you to gain retentive powers. That the more we repeat the same thing over and over and over again, the less the experience is cognitive, like something that you're thinking about or really trying to hold on to, and the more you are able to relax into this process. And as I mentioned, this process, as we do it over time with consistency, it begins to do the work for us. So keep that in mind, that especially if you're new to practice, to meditation, you might be initially just thinking about this and trying to access whatever you think it is that you're supposed to be accessing. But let me remind you that this is about trusting and relaxing into it. It's a surrendering as well as a practice of concentration. The meditation that we're going to be working with daily is called Vishoka meditation. It comes directly from Pandit Rajmani Tiganayat of the Himalayan Institute. It is one of my favorite meditations. It's part of my regular personal practice. So one, I'm teaching you something that I practice myself. And two, I think it's a really great practice for all levels to start to drop into, because it focuses on several factors that help the mind drop into this clear, spacious awareness that is so important for people living with diabetes, to help them improve their cognition, their memory, their mood, their attitudes, as well as the physiological responses that are connected when we regulate our breath. Speaking of the breath, that's a big part of this practice. We're going to be focusing on different areas of the body where we're sending or directing our breath. I'm going to go into the specifics of how we practice Vishoka meditation. Right now, what you're going to be doing is thinking about it, and that's fine, so that when you do listen to the meditation, just remind yourself to let go of that thinking part and just allow yourself to receive this medicine, because it does the work for you. And with regular practice, you begin to experience it in a much more profound way. So my teacher Rod has this saying that the breath is to the mind as the mind is to the breath. And what that essentially means is that the way that you breathe is indicative of what's going on in your mind. So for instance, if your breath is labored, it's often indicating that there's something else going on in your mind, whether your mind is thinking or worrying or in the past or the future. If you can change the way that you're breathing, not only does this regulate your physiological reactions, but it also implores your mind to drop into presence, and presence is the present moment. This is just an aside, but one of the definitions of Vishoka, the Vishoka meditation we're about to do, is the remover of sorrow. And it's another reason why I picked this meditation specifically for our challenge of working with diabetes, because one of the definitions of diabetes, if you look back to ancient Roman and Grecian times, is that diabetes is a disease of sadness, of sorrow, of grief. And those of us that live with this disease, we understand that in a way, a diagnosis is a sort of death of a life that we used to have or assumed that we would have. And now this new diagnosis is something that we have to live with forever. So whether the sadness originates with diabetes, or if it comes from before, or if it intensifies over the duration of our disease, sadness is ubiquitous in the human nature. We will all experience it at some point in our lives. But if we can drop into a practice that helps us remember our own innate joy, it begins to become more powerful than this lingering sadness that is very subtle at times. So in the next video, we're going to go through the steps of Vishoka meditation so that as you drop into the recording of the practice, you get what it is that I'm talking about and you're not totally confused.